Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and I'm here to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. I read this many new books last week, and it's time for me to give you my weekly rankings. So find out what my top 7 books of the week are after this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Coming in at number 7 is the only Marvel book to make the top third of the list this week, and it's Web of Venom Wraith number 1. It's by Donny Cates, Guiu Villanova, Dean White, and Clayton Cowles on the letters. This book mostly makes it into the list because while the story is intriguing about, Null is coming and what happens to Wraith and what he's been cursed with once he has an interaction with Null, and what does he do after his battle with Wraith, or what he does after his battle with Null. But what really sticks out to me in this book is just the art. Chaos and Comics did a piece on Wraith this weekend where he kind of talked about books being dark for darkness' sake and really started to highlight some of the elements where things started to pop and sing in this book relatively well. And, I'll 100% agree with him that after I watched his piece on Sunday, I went back and kind of flipped through the pages again and looking to see, everything that happened artistically in terms of Wraith telling his tale just blew my mind and was good enough for, hitting number 7. Coming in at number 6 from Image Skybound is Reaver number 11. It's by Justin Jordan and Nico Henrikon. And you can see that this is the final part of this story arc. This was a good, big, bloody fight. Y'all know that I've really enjoyed Rakala as a character from getting to meet her in the beginning. I really liked seeing the character development of Essen Breaker throughout this 5-issue storyline, because it's just been interesting kind of see him taken from this big bad Hulk smash kind of guy into having some kind of backstory and kind of deciding that he, like Cincinnatus, just wanted to retire back to the farm after his epic tales, epic battles, epic everything else. And I really kind of liked this, and I want to know, what's next in the cards for Reaver. That I don't know if it's been successful enough to have a third arc. I really liked it, and I hope it does. I think Justin Jordan is pretty talented, and what Nico Henrikon and the colorist have done on this book has made this one of my favorite kind of dark fantasy tales. Coming in at number 5 from Scout Comics is Vlad Dracul number 3 of 3 by Matteo Struckel and Andrea Moody. We finally get to see what happens in the battles between Vlad and the Ottomans. We know that at this point he is massively outnumbered, that there is, a greater threat coming to Wallachia, and we know that he's resolved to fight, but the question ultimately becomes, at what cost? Is he going to fight, to the death? Is he going to make, a calculation at what point will he kind of give in and potentially lay down his sword and turn himself in? But I really loved this book, and I'm just going to show one more page where I think the art just really beautifully sings in terms of, the art driving the story, the art and the color, or the drawing and the colors really singing together. That this book has been awesome. In interviewing Struckel and Moody a couple of weeks ago, they indicated that there could possibly be an additional arc based on how successful Vlad Dracul is. I know that issues 1 and 2 were both announced on the same day of getting a second printing, so we'll see if number 3 gets the same treatment, because I'm gonna 100% put myself out there and say if issue 3 gets a second printing, we're gonna see another arc of Vlad Dracul at some point in the future. And I know that it exists because in asking Matteo if he had more of Vlad's story to tell, his answer was yeah, we could do a lot more with it. So I hope that's the case. If you didn't check it out, go buy it digitally. Y'all know how much I hate digital books, but go buy it digitally, get lost in the art, love the story. But this was a home run from Scout. Coming in at number 4, Something is Killing the Children, number 10, by James Tynion IV, Weather Daldera, and Mikel Muerto. This book kind of brought the insanity that we thought we were going to get after the last one. So after the failed attempt to kind of lure the children monsters, the baby monsters, the little guys, whatever, out so they could be fed, so they could be easily killed, they start to see that the body count is rising, that the baby monsters are starting to grow and get ready to decimate the entirety of the town. And really what starts to happen is the man who was sent to kind of take Erica down to cover all of the attacks up really starts to understand the severity of the situation, and that there's about to be like a full brood at full strength instead of worrying about just one singular monster. So what happens in the last couple of pages really came out of nowhere, and in talking to the folks on the Comic Burrito Discord and just other chats with them, there are 12 different ways to interpret what happens on the final 2 pages that I'm really excited to see the direction that the book goes in once number 11 drops in 3 weeks. Coming in at number 3, from AWA, is Bad Mother number 2. It's written by Krista Faust with art by Mike Deodato Jr. And I want to say nicely done to the boys over at Lost in Comics that Chris and Oscar got to interview Mike Deodato Jr. last week, and it was just fantastic. But I really like how we start to see more character development to the mother in this one, that we know she was kind of this specter-like figure throughout book number 1, that she just constantly was unnoticed, and then her daughter gets kidnapped. This book, we find out that there's a sex trade going on, potentially a crystal meth kind of trade, and she doesn't know who to trust. So when she finds her daughter's phone in the oddest of places, she knows that her daughter knew things were about to go awry, that she goes home, decides to clean up, and when she gets to doing the laundry, she discovers her daughter's phone in with the laundry pods. And as the mother kind of goes through figuring out who she can or cannot trust, she goes like full detective on this one in terms of like using text messages to help decipher what's going on. But the panels that were just really brilliant for me is this, big splash page in, the last third of the book, where we start seeing her kind of piece everything together through like Instagram postings to figure out where her daughter might be. And the cliffhanger at the end of this issue was really good. Also, we get the Breaking Bad on the Resistance cover again. We still want answers. I want to know, is the bad mother a superhero after the pandemic? Top 2 were easy picks for me, and you know that I'm a homer, that for Mad Cave Studios I should be wearing my purple Mad Cave shirt, but you see that in enough videos that it would be easy to know with 2 Mad Cave number 1s, both of those books would be relatively high on the list. And while this was the 3rd or 4th solid week top to bottom in terms of every book that I've read, these 2 just clearly were the top of the pile. And I went back and forth in terms of which was my favorite, which was my second favorite, and then I finally made a decision as I hit record. So coming in at number 2 from Mad Cave Studios is Stargazer number 1. This was a really interesting story, and this one was a complete surprise to me because unlike the other book from Mad Cave, I hadn't gotten to read it ahead of time, and I was a little bit knowledgeable about what the story was because they had spent quite a bit of time kind of hyping it up. But we get, like this alien sighting that happens, and what we are starting to, or what we're trying to figure out is if it's real. Is it an LSD induced hallucination? And that's one of the questions that we kind of constantly have to go back and forth and ask ourselves in terms of, are they really out there, right? That X-Files vibe of is that life kind of gonna get us? And that's kind of even what's happening in the last couple of pages of the first book, when even the most devout, diehard, like they are real kind of alien enthusiast is even like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know if any of this is true or any of it is real. And then what happens in the last 2 pages? So I can't wait until next month until number 2 drops. And coming in at number 1, also from Mad Cave Studios, is Dryfoot number 1. I have a non-advanced reader copy of this, but I figured this would be the perfect time to showcase my second purchase from Karate Kevin over at the Superpower Review. That here is the remark of Dryfoot that he did, and asked me if I was interested. And you can see that this is the villain from Dryfoot drawn on the top, and I now have another Kevin signature piece that I'm excited to have. But this book is by Jared Lahan with art by Orlando Casato. So many good things are happening in this book. You have 4 teens in Little Havana coming together in the 80s, really questioning whether or not they wanted to live there, whether or not they wanted to deal with the crime and all the drug trade that was associated with Miami during this time, or if they wanted to forge a path and go their own way. And you learn that, a third of the way in the book, they decide to rob the, big kingpin at, who's drawn on there by Kevin. And you start to see the plan come together. The other reason why I like this is kind of the Dirty Dozen feel to it, where all 4 of these kids come from messed up homes in 4 very, very, very different ways. And I just like, seeing them all come together. The other thing that's awesome about both of these Mad Cave books that I discovered, it was either Friday night or Saturday night, both of these books sold out by Friday or Saturday, that I saw on Jared Lahan's Instagram. And I think they've both been ordered for a second printing, which is amazing. You should check these out, especially if you didn't get either of them the first printing. That everything that is coming out of Mad Cave is just hot, hot, hot fire. And both of these new number 1 titles have set the bar pretty high for the next couple of offerings coming out from Mad Cave in their new number 1s, in terms of things like Hollywood Trash, Villainous, and Terminal Punks. I'm really excited to check those other new number 1s out. I've already read Villainous, and y'all know that I'm a homer for Stoney Williams. I'm getting ready to read the other 2 this week, I think. So I'm going to keep, conducting the hype train, but y'all should definitely pick these books up. I love Dryfoot so much, and I can't wait to see what happens across the next couple of issues. So what did you think? Are there any books that you would have changed the order here in my top list? Is there anything from this stack that that I read that you think should have made it on the list or higher up? Let me know down in the comments below. But as always, thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.